I'm happy here to have Joachim, the head of Regional Development Cooperation in Africa at the Swedish Embassy in Addis Ababa. Welcome, Joachim.
Thank you.
To Salam Media through IP's radio.
Thank you.
Joachim, to start with, considering your portfolio and your expertise in Africa, working with Africans and in development cooperation, what role do you think the Sweden government would play to support civil societies and to bring about peace in Sudan?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Swedish development cooperation is, on several levels. So one is, of course, now humanitarian support for the people of Sudan in this very difficult situation. And then we have also a bilateral development cooperation support in Sudan that has been, of course, very difficult to maintain at the same level, but we have adapted it so it's more focusing on supporting communities, resilience in this moment. And then we have the regional development cooperation, which I am responsible for, coming out of Addis Ababa. And of course, within that regional support, we try to support the African Union and IGAD on mediation efforts, but also working directly with the civil society organizations outside of Sudan, which is the reason why I'm here today in Kampala, to follow up on that specific support, where we work with Salam Media through Life and Peace Institute. Because we think that it's, at the end of the day, for having sustainable peace, there will have to be an involvement of civil society movement and community level dialogue. Of course, the first step is always to get the military to stop fighting, a ceasefire agreement, but that's the easy step in a way. The more difficult step is to have a lasting peace.
Good. You've mentioned the Sweden government is like providing humanitarian support to one of the areas that you are operating. Currently, there is a gap of humanitarian aid in the refugees camp in Kiriandongo here in Uganda. And do you think that this is an area where you could intervene and provide some support to to organizations working at the refugees camp in Uganda to aid refugees? Because to be precise, there is a kind of famine since the United States executive order to suspend the funding, international funding of USAID. WFP have not been able to provide food for a lot of people around the globe, and Uganda is also facing the same thing, particularly the refugees at the refugee settlement.
Yeah.
And cases of malnutrition have been reported at Kiriandongo refugee settlement. So, do you think SIDA is part of the mandate?
It's very unfortunate, of course, with the cut in funding from some donors. Sweden is supporting humanitarian support in Sudan. It's actually the biggest single humanitarian support compared to other crises around the world. But there's not enough humanitarian funding available, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sweden is a big donor, but also a small donor compared to the bigger nations. And we have multiple crises around the world. So it's hard priorities to prioritize between Eastern DRC, Sudan, Gaza, Ukraine, and other humanitarian crises, the Sahel, of course. So I cannot promise that we will increase, but I can promise that we will continue to support.
Good. Could you tell us more about your engagement with IGAD and African Union on the Sudanese case?
Yeah. We work with the the Political Affairs, Peace and Security Department of African Union, and we work with the Peace and Security Department of IGAD and support the special envoys and their efforts when it comes to mediation. Until now, there are initiatives, but the results are weak, and we still think that they will have to be part of the formal.
Why is it weak?
Solution.
Why is it weak, do you think?
I think it's a question of having leverage and having the muscles to actually wrist the arm of the combating forces and those who are supporting the combating forces. And I don't see African Union and IGAD having that until now. So I think we will have to have other nations being the mediators behind an actual ceasefire agreement. But then the process that comes after a ceasefire agreement, I think, will have to involve African Union and IGAD in some sort to have the African solutions to African problems being also able to follow up on a peace agreement. It will have to be an involvement of the African Union, definitely, and IGAD.
Having said that, the results are negative from the engagement of the IGAD and the African Union in the Sudanese peace process to put an end to the ongoing conflict now. And you mentioned that it's like they should be engaged after the ceasefire is signed. Why do you think at that stage, what difference would they bring to the table from your own perspective?
Basically because African Union is the member states' own institution on the continent, and they have that role on the continent. So from a formal perspective, they are the only organization that can follow up on a peace agreement, basically. And of course, IGAD have the same role, and you have the principle of subsidiarity. You should use the organizations, the RECs, the regional economic communities, and the African Union, depending on the mandate, of course, in different situations. So I think they will both need to be involved, and how that will look like, I mean, that is something to be seen. I cannot look into the future, but I find it very hard to see any kind of negotiated process that does not involve African Union.
Okay. There are so many Sudanese civil society organizations, Sudanese politicians advocating to engage or to apply more pressure from the regional and international community on the warring parties to stop fighting, to cease the war, and up to negotiating table to solve the disputes. Having said so, what type of diplomatic support that the Swedish government could play to maximize the advocacy efforts of the Sudanese civil society to have the international community and the regional community to add more pressure on the warring parties in Sudan? What could be done? What do you think? Is there any diplomatical support, like liaising meetings with governments, with embassies?
I mean, as I said, we are here to follow up on the project that we have that is about mobilizing voices from the civil society among the Sudanese diaspora in several countries, including Uganda, but also other countries. And of course, we are available for making the link also between those organizations and the diplomatic level. If we have that opportunity, we are happy to do that. But I mean, Sweden is also not maybe in the center of the conversation around those diplomatic efforts. So there are also some limitations to what we can achieve.
Thank you, Joachim, for this moment with Salam Media, and wish to have you again or see you in Addis Ababa, hopefully.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.